season, very few people predicted them to make the playoffs. Obviously, they ended up making it. Actually, were first in their division, amazingly. As crazy as that is to sound, it speaks more to how bad the Southeast was than how good they were, to be fair. But they have, Jason, I think, of any team, they have maybe one of the biggest log jams in the front court of any team in the NBA. They drafted Mo Bamba. They have Aaron Gordon, who wants to be a power forward and has been shoehorned into small forward at points. Vucevic. They have Jonathan Isaac. I mean, there's just too many guys. And then even Kem Birch, who I believe is going to be a free agent, who showed some signs last year. Um, they just have too many big men. So normally this would be a foregone conclusion. I still think he sticks with the Magic, but there's a lot of buzz that he might leave, Jason. What do you think?
I think he's going to Boston. I think he's going to be the beneficiary of Danny Ainge's cap space. That would make the Celtics a little more respectable heading into next season as far as Eastern Conference playoff contention is concerned. I think that him and Gordon Hayward at the top would be a nice little 1-2 punch. Still have Tatum and Brown, and then a lot of those young guards. And maybe without Kyrie, they'll bring back Terry Rozier, and they'll just go for it with Vucevic, who is a walking double-double. I just think it's time for a change of scenery.
He also strikes me as a guy who could end up on the Knicks. I don't know why I say that, but he just feels that way.
Nikola Vucevic.
I that said, I'm gonna give you my prediction for the big free agent this year, Jason. And you tell me what you think here. But so here's my case for the New York Knicks fans out there. So you're about to get a guy. Speaking of walking double double, someone who is a walking double double, has been a great 3-point shooter, a guy who rebounds, can play on the break, can play all around the floor. Unfortunately, Jason, I'm not talking about Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, or LeBron James. I am talking about DeMarcus Cousins, who just feels as Knicksy as can be. And I think there's a very good chance he ends up on the New York Knicks as their marquee free agent for this offseason. Um, it just feels like a match made in heaven with Cousins and the Knicks. What do you think, Jason? What say you?
I think Cousins needs a situation similar to what he had in Sacramento, where he could just go on a losing team and put up big numbers. I mean, he did show some signs in the finals, but ultimately he could not get into midseason shape in time to help the Warriors, overcome all their injuries. I'm going to say he ends up on the Clippers because the Clippers are another team with big dreams of pairing all these max free agents. And I haven't predicted a free agent to the Clippers yet. So I think he ends up going into LA's cap space and kind of tries to galvanize the team down there, pair with those young wings that they have, and put up numbers in LA. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say Cousins goes to the Clippers.
Interesting. Okay. I like that pick. That's a pretty interesting
We
one.
we are going to be so wrong about all of this, but that's what makes it fun, right?
Yeah, we'll review these picks as time goes on, but I mean, I have a feeling Cousins is going to go to one of these teams and be kind of the solo act. So if whatever team strikes out, I think he might end up there and get to
He might
rebuild his value.
revitalize the Bobcats and go play for them.
Oh my gosh. Whew. Charlotte, get ready, man. Cousins is coming. He did play. He played at Kentucky. That's close-ish, right? You could get some Kentucky fans there. I don't know, Jason. I don't know. If you're a Charlotte's Bobcats fan right now, it's not looking too bright for you. But a team that is looking very bright, has a great future ahead, is the Bucks. We have a few of their free agents coming up here. The first one, and I actually think we might go through the Bucks free agents kind of together because they feel like they're a package deal, Jason, a little bit. The first one is Chris Middleton. I don't know how you feel. I feel like this is not going to be a lot of movement. Middleton has kind of worked his way to where he's going to more than likely get a max deal. The Bucks will almost certainly give him whatever he needs so that they can stay in contention. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's staying with the Bucks. I mean, he would be a nice signing elsewhere if he did decide to leave, if the sides reach an impasse in their talks and he tries to go elsewhere. But I think Middleton ends up staying in Milwaukee, along with our next guy, my personal friend and future best friend, Brook Lopez, who is my favorite player in the NBA still. I don't care how many stars there are. Brook Lopez will forever be my guy. So I think Brook Lopez also stays with the Bucks, and they kind of bring the band back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those two stay. I don't think there's much going on there. There is one more guy. I'm gonna save it for last just because I have some thoughts. But one of my favorite guys a few years ago. Derrick Rose sort of revitalized his career. Going to be an interesting guy. I think we're on the same page here, Jason. Rose feels like a guy who's going to go to a team where he can be a veteran, kind of fill in, maybe be a six man. And that just feels like a Lakers team. It feels like a guy who LeBron would like to have on his team. I think we're kind of on the same page on this one.
Yeah, I think he's going Lakers too, but for less money because I did predict Kemba Walker signing in Los Angeles. So I think that Derrick Rose will finally take that much anticipated veterans minimum deal because the Lakers will be extremely hard capped and he will be their backup point guard. And it's going to be really funny when the Cavs get a bought out J.R. Smith and their backup backcourt is Derrick Rose and J.R. Smith. I mean, the headlines, the Hollywood clubs are clamoring for this. So I think Derrick Rose does end up in LA, but in a reserve role.
I'm going to give you a dark horse for this one. A team that I would not be shocked if he ended up with. I mean, I'll give you a couple. One is Dallas. If Dallas gets the guys that they want, I would not be surprised at all if they make a pretty decent offer for Rose. And I say this just because, I think that they're a team who has shown in the past that they do not mind taking on reclamation projects, and especially at point guard, they're willing to roll the dice a little bit. And so I wouldn't be shocked, Jason. I'm just going to throw this out there. I would not be shocked if the Mavericks make a little run at Rose if they get those other guys that we've kind of talked about. If they end up keeping Porzingis and they get Horford, I would say don't be surprised to see Derrick Rose in a Mavericks uniform. We know Carlisle likes having those guys he can mold a little bit. And with Rose in more of a six-man role, they could play a guy like a Jalen Brunson or J.J. Barea in the starting lineup and let Rose kind of take over the offense when Doncic goes to the bench. So just a dark horse. I wouldn't be surprised there. We only have two more guys, Jason. And this next guy we both think is going to the Nets. There's been a lot of buzz today and yesterday about this. DeAndre Jordan, obviously a well-known friend of Kevin Durant. I'm sure you're getting excited thinking about this, but he looks like he might be Brooklyn bound as well.
Well, I have to package him in with the Nets if they're getting Durant and Irving, because if they strike out on those guys, there's no way in hell DeAndre Jordan signs with Brooklyn. I have a couple qualms with this. I like DeAndre Jordan a lot as a player. I still think he brings a lot to the table. He would be that physical specimen that could go up against the Joel Embiid. I have two questions, though. Will he be okay backing up Jared Allen, and will he take less money to do that? Because he's made some money. He's made a few All-NBA teams. He has an Olympic gold medal. He was an All-Star one season. Is he at the stage where he could fill the Ed Davis void and be okay backing up Jared Allen? And if the Nets get both Durant and Irving, they're only going to have a $4.8 million mid-room exception. Will Jordan slide into that? Now, if the Nets do get their guys and they're automatically now a perennial contender and they have Durant coming in 2020 and they get Kyrie, then maybe DeAndre Jordan will sign up for that. So because I've predicted Durant and Irving to the Nets, that's why I'm grouping DeAndre Jordan, and I think he'd be a great fit in a reserve role.
No, I think you're right, and I think one of the things we're going to see. I mean, I don't want to hurt your feelings here. I love Brook Lopez, and I want to start by saying this. I think the Bucks are going to regret the decision to pay Brook Lopez big money, and whoever gets Vucevic, I think the same, because the big man, and maybe I should launch into my heat check of the week.
I'm on fire. Here's a heat check. Fireball.
But the big man in the NBA is becoming a dying breed, Jason, particularly those who cannot shoot. And I think a lot of these big men are going to look into this market this year and find that there is not much staring back at them. When you look around the league, most of the teams kind of have a big man or two. I mean, even the lower rung teams in the NBA have big men that they're willing to play. The Knicks have Mitchell Robinson. When you look at other teams towards the bottom, a team like the Hawks has multiple big men. A team like the Miami Heat, multiple big men. The Wizards have a couple guys that they felt comfortable playing. And they felt comfortable playing Bobby Portis out there. When Dwight Howard goes down, a little bit of an interesting thing that happened for the Wizards last year, Jason, is that they go out and they play Thomas Bryant. And they say, oh, this guy's okay. He's actually pretty good. We're fine with this. So these teams are not really clamoring to get big men. I think a guy like DeAndre Jordan is going to go into this market thinking he's going to get big money. And when the game of musical chairs ends, there's not going to be many teams really looking to get a center who can't do much besides dunk the ball and is on the wrong side of 30. So wouldn't be surprised to see the Nets get him at all. Maybe he gets a chance to rebuild his value or get a long-term deal. But let's get to the one I'm most excited about here, Jason. This is the Bulls segment. Go ahead.
Before that.
Oh.
So obviously there's a ton of free agents out there. And I listed this out and I said, Ben, hey, can you take a look at the notes a day early just because we're doing free agent predictions? And Ben goes, where's Malcolm Brogdon? Why can't we add him? And I just think given his service time and a lot of the names on this list, I didn't think he warranted this consideration. But I promised Ben that we could talk about Brogdon's free agency prediction with a caveat that I can tell all of you that he text bombed me about it. And now we're talking about Malcolm Brogdon. So go ahead, Ben.
All right. This is going to probably age incredibly poorly. This is kind of heat check part 2, Jason. I think Malcolm Brogdon in 2 years might be better than half the guys on this list. I think he is a sleeper, a really, really good player who's just a little bit below the surface, who has a chance to just absolutely shine if he gets to the right team. And I do not think that team is the Chicago Bulls, but that is where I think he'll end up. I think that Brogdon is a guy who has shown that he is an absolutely perfect fit in the modern NBA. There were long stretches of the series against Toronto where Brogdon was clearly the second best player on the floor for Milwaukee. And I think that portends things to come for him because I think this is a guy who really can be an absolute star in his role. If he gets a few more shots, I think this could be a guy who could near the 20-point per game plateau if he's getting those looks every game. Very solid defender, very good rebounder for his position, tremendous free throw shooter, very good decision maker. Now, his passing numbers don't jump out at you. He's a 3 or 4 assist a game type guy, but he's a very good and decisive decision maker. I think a team would be smart to give him a little bit more of the offense, let him do a little bit more, a la what Steve Kerr did for the Warriors, where he let his guards sort of transform the offense. I think Brogdon is a potentially transformational shooter. He was one of the members of the 50-40-90 club after last year. Really, really solid shooter. I'd like to see those looks go up. I think the Bulls should make him about a $20 million a year offer over 3-4 years. Try to get him in regardless of the guard rotation. I think he is the best value in this free agency market, and a guy who I think could be an all-star, and someone who I think could be a real contributor on a championship team. So I am head over heels for Malcolm Brogdon to the Bulls. I'm not sure how I feel about the coaching situation and that he'll actually get that opportunity, but c'est la vie.
So for those of you who can't see our show notes, and Ben, that's a very interesting take. I put Ben's house for this because I think he's going to move to Pittsburgh and live with you and Flo. I think he'd be a great roommate. You guys can just shoot laundry into the hamper all day. I think it'd be fun. But as long as the Bucks don't renounce his rights, I think he goes to Boston because with the Celtics losing Irving and Horford, I think Ainge will have the cap space to maybe offer a couple of poison pill contracts a la Sean Marks. And I think he offers that poison pill type contract to Brogdon. The Bucks don't match it because they spent their money on Middleton and Lopez and Bledsoe back in March. And I think Brogdon ends up a Celtic.
Well, please, Malcolm, don't break my heart. Come to the Bulls, and then maybe we can work on getting Jim Boylan off the Bulls, and then everything will be happy. But enough about my Bulls, Jason. I'm being selfish. I'm so excited about Malcolm Brogdon. You know I've been excited all year. So it's hard for me to contain my excitement now that we're getting near the eve of free agency. But there is another role I have to assume here, Jason. So allow me to have you put your feet up, sit down on my couch as I take my notepad and pen, and be your Nets therapist of the week while you go over the internal struggle you're facing over a big decision that's here.
This is like a civil war amongst Net fans, and there's also reports that the Nets organization is also very conflicted on this matter. I mean, do you pay a 27-year-old Kyrie Irving who wore out his welcome, not just one, but two franchises, injury prone, but also has an Olympic gold medal